Have you ever felt anxious about New Year's Eve weeks before it happens?
Or the pressure to have that best night ever.
This episode is for you. Welcome back. I'm Jess.
And I'm Jeannine, and this is Angry on the Inside.
Quick reminder, we're not doctors or therapists.
However, we are certified ADHD coaches, but this podcast isn't coaching.
It's two late diagnosed women unpacking what we've lived.
Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and just remember, you're not the only one feeling angry on the inside.
That was good stuff. I was thinking about it. New Year's Eve is, at least from when I was young, romantic special night, sort of magical kiss fantasy.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking
definitely.
about?
I do.
It's not Christmas, not like Hallmark, because I feel like Hallmark has a lot of magical Christmas kisses. Those are different. Yes. But in my mind, New Year's Eve was always the fantasy. I wanted to stand in the snow and get a kiss at midnight and it all be so fancy. Like some dude that didn't even know me well enough or like me well enough to buy me a Christmas gift within the next 6 days is going to be planning the most magical evening either of us have ever had. I don't know why, but that for me, that's the one.
Yeah. No, I always thought, I agree. Growing up, it was always like super romantic. You'd be on this great date or you'd meet somebody you'd go to a fabulous party and meet someone. You would see them across the dance floor. For me too, though, with the thing about New Year's is it just feel like a test of your social success.
Local news takes over the countdown and you're seeing people at all these balls. I spent the last 20 years in Chicago and it was like I'd see all these people downtown and counting down and I'd be like, what the heck?
Like, do you have a lot of friends? Are you invited to parties? Because the cool people that's what they do on New Year's Eve. So if you don't have people to hang out with, you don't have a party to go to, well, what's wrong with you?
And somehow that 4-hour party magically turns into like 8 hours. And somehow that 2,000-foot ballroom that you're in suddenly becomes 10,000 square foot. I don't know, but it happens in my mind. Now my New Year's Eve, I like to drink chocolate milk until I go into a sugar coma and fall asleep by 10. And I'm really comfortable with that, to be quite honest. I've been in that zone for quite some time and I'm okay with it.
I think, yeah, I'd still go to a party, but I'm not as into them as I used to. And I used to also think whenever we had a good New Year's Eve, the year that followed sucked. I went through like a decade of just ignore it and then the year would be better. Because I felt like the few times I went to a great party, the following year sucked.
Well, that's interesting. Thinking about it in the moment, I kind of felt the opposite. I always had kind of sucky New Year's, especially in my 20s. I always felt like that set the tone for the year. Maybe it would have been even worse had I had a good New Year's Eve. So maybe I should count my blessings.
And I thought maybe I just started to think that because I wasn't being invited to parties. I wasn't the one to go hang out with and go to the bars with. And maybe I made that up to make myself feel better. Like, well, if I have a boring New Year's. Overall, I don't think for somebody with ADHD brain, like New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, any of that is like really doesn't work with an ADHD brain. It's all about expectations and should-haves and could-haves and would-haves and all of that.
If I'm looking at it from the ADHD perspective with New Year's Eve, like we can cut it a few different ways. How about we say that? Our main character syndrome for New Year's Eve, we are either the party girl, we're out to enjoy ourselves and drink a ton and dance the night away and throw up on the designated driver's shoes. The flip side of that coin, our ADHDers are the designated drivers. That's me waiting for somebody to throw up on my shoes and for me to have to take care of everybody for the night to make sure everyone is safe with my hypervigilance. Then you move along. You might be the type who's just laying at home with your kids, trying to keep them from getting grumpy before the countdown, or you're in bed by 10. There's a couple different ways to hack it. Some people, though, I will say you can get hyped up on New Year's Eve. That can give you a good bump of dopamine once you get engaged and you go out. Yeah. Once you get started running down that hill. I know someone likes to dance, Jeannine.
I do. Didn't say I was good at it, but I like to. Once you get me on once I'm there and engaged, I don't want it to end. Like I'm the one who's just like, yeah, it's 2 a.m. So what does that mean? Like, why does everyone think we have to go home now? Why does the party have to stop?
To keep the party going.
But then it's also the complete opposite. Right? Those times where you agreed to go to the party and then that day comes and you're like, I have no energy. I don't want to deal with the world or people or anything. It sounded great when I decided I RSVP'd yes, like 3 weeks ago. But yeah, woke up this morning and that's not where my energy level is. It's one of those days I don't have the energy to do anything. And I sure as heck don't want to see anybody. And now what do? I'm stuck going to this party.
That's when your extroverted self that was around for 10 or 15 minutes one day made plans before your introverted self was able to be like, oh, hell no.
Yes. Oh my gosh. How many times you have that burst of energy, like a half hour, and you go through all your emails or respond to all those texts. You're saying yes to everything. Yes, we'll do this. Yes, we'll do that. And then the morning you wake up thinking, what have I done? And spend the next 2 weeks trying to figure out how you're going to get yourself out of it. What's a good excuse? Do I just outright lie or do I just suffer through it and go? Because that's what you should do, right?
You go begrudgingly.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can get a toehold in the night and you start to have a little bit of fun, everybody needs to step back because you're going to have a ton of fun on New Year's Eve if you can get it going. Right. At the end of the day, I feel like New Year's Day is the ADHD woman's most anticlimactic holiday.
Yes. So true. Because I think New Year's Eve, I'm supposed to be like very social. I have a great time. Everything's supposed to be super exciting. And then that doesn't pan out. And I remember thinking this as a kid, that you would wake up on New Year's Day and like the world would be different. It would be better. It was like a fresh start. Everything you did wrong in the old year, it's a clean slate. And I was just suddenly going to be the most organized, disciplined, healthiest. You could go on and on. I was just all those things I didn't like about myself were suddenly going to go away. I was going to wake up on New Year's Day and it'd all be gone. And I would be the person who suddenly would get up at 6 a.m. to go for a 2-mile run, come home, have a great breakfast.
We expect a reverse Cinderella effect.
Yeah.
Once the clock strikes midnight, we expect that pumpkin to turn into the, what is it called? Shit.
It's a carriage or whatever.
Carriage. We expect that pumpkin to turn into a carriage after midnight rather than the other way. All this magical stuff to happen as we sleep so that we wake up and we are just the epitome of perfection in our brains.
You went to bed at one person and you wake up the next day. It's a new year. It's a new you.
Waking up on that satin pillowcase that you got in your stocking. So your hair is perfectly coiffed, or you got a bonnet that you remembered to put on before you went to bed and your hair's not staticky.
Yeah. Because new year.
Even if you have a hangover, you might be popping out of bed. Who knows?
I know.
It's funny because it's like the reason in my mind why it's anticlimactic and why it's such an anticlimactic holiday is you wake up and none of those things have changed. Within a few days, everything hits you in the face because we're planning for 50 more things after just finishing the holiday stretch. We're exhausted and we take no time to recoup or regenerate. And we give ourselves no grace for regenerating. We literally just ran the holiday marathon throughout the month of December, topped it off with staying up super late and not treating our bodies very well. And then we think everything's going to feel so good when we get up that next day. For many of us, a lot of things come into play. Now all the holiday decorations have to come down.
I hate that. It's so depressing.
All the lights and the glitter, it's gone. For those of us who are like horrible with money, yes.
You are going to be financially responsible.
You are going to be financially responsible. And yet somehow you end up depressed in the month of January because you have no money and you can't leave the house. Why can't we just take like 2 weeks? Let's take 2 weeks off after that and just not worry about dealing with anything. We don't have to be anything. We just have to get through. Let's just sit and doom scroll. Maybe we could have a week of doom scrolling. That's okay. I could do that. The whole damn time.
The whole damn time. And you don't even know where that organizer is. Then, you go to work and there's that person who's all the way into February and still getting up at 6 a.m. to run their 2 miles. And they're feeling great.
Which, dude, high five them, high five them.
New Year's is just really hard when we have ADHD, especially if it's undiagnosed. And you keep wondering why,
God, yes.
You feel committed. You are committed. You really, really, really want to make these changes. You've read every possible article about how to set a good resolution. And maybe as you've gotten older, you've learned a few tricks that, so maybe you did figure out, well, instead of having 20 new things I was going to do every single day, I would just do 10 new things every day. Like several years ago, just decide not to make resolutions. Because at least I figured that out. They just disappointed me.
I don't know who to credit this with, but it was probably 15 plus years ago. I was listening to something and it was like the woman was talking about New Year's resolutions and she was like, I decided a long time ago that I could make all the New Year's resolutions that I wanted, but I would make one that was obtainable. That kind of caught me because I would try New Year's resolutions every year, and this was definitely pre-ADHD diagnosis. And I would get so disappointed every year because I wasn't hitting these milestones like anywhere near soon. We are instant gratification people. That first year, I love song lyrics, and I decided I was going to learn all the words to REM's It's the End of the World as We Know It,
Ooh,
because most people only know like Leonard Bernstein and Lenny Bruce and Lester Banks, and boom. A lot of people don't know that most of the song when he's singing It's the End of the World as We Know It, in the background, he's singing It's Time I Had Some Time Alone. The lyrics are kind of interesting. And you do kind of feel fancy when you do actually know the lyrics. I still do know it. And after I did that first year, and it lasted probably for a good 10 years, we talk about how our tips and tricks, they wear thin after a while. We lose our, what's the word? Damn it, damn it, damn it.
the novelty wears off.
The novelty wears off. But for several years, I just had a lot of randomness. And one year, I chose that I was going to learn how to solve a Rubik's Cube, like how Justin Bieber
Yeah,
does with
yeah.
like this stuff on YouTube from when he was like a teenager, and he just sits and twists it and turns it. And then like all of a sudden it's done. I decided I was going to do that. And I even bought myself a Rubik's Cube and put it into my stocking. I was very all over it. I think I saw it out in the garage a few weeks ago.
Oh my
Rubik's
gosh.
Cube still in the packaging,
Okay.
but that was the year.
Perfect.
I solved it by buying it. I bought it solved. It remained solved. The way that I was able to do that was by not opening it.
I think that counts as a win. No.
Thinking
Yeah.
outside the box about the cube inside the box.
Especially now diagnosed, knowing myself so much better is just getting comfortable with no matter how you're going to spend New Year's Eve, or what you think about the new year that's coming, is just do it your way. Last year, I it was just me and my son home, and I think I cleaned my bathroom because I'd been meaning to do that. So at least, it was like, oh, I'll go into the new year with a very, clean bathroom. Cleaned out my closet a little bit, watched Andy and Anderson get drunk, and then opened a bottle of champagne, had a glass of champagne, went to bed by 12:30. It was good.
See, that's good stuff. That's good. I think you're on the right track. Did you get an ADHD diagnosis for Christmas? If so, come and enjoy your New Year's.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because New Year's was the hardest when I did not have a diagnosis. And I
Yes.
really feel like you're onto something on that, because it just feeds into our rejection sensitivity and our self-loathing and our shame.
Yeah.
All these things, we line them up pretty nice and neat, and we're going to do all these things, and then we don't. And as soon as one thing goes wrong, we forget that we can always start again tomorrow, and it doesn't set us back. I didn't realize that until after my diagnosis. And that is one thing I will say that I truly love. And I truly love that we get to talk about it on here, is I love leaning into my ADHD. I wish to God I had known. And, I know
True.
shoulda, coulda, wouldas. I understand. But man, all of the pain and hurt it would have saved my nervous system, and my emotional capacity would be so much different. The person I am, the mom I would have been, all of
Yeah,
those things,
totally.
because it's worth leaning into it. When you meet people who have ADHD, young or old, and they've lived a life where they got to lean into their ADHD, whether or not they knew it, right?
Yeah.
When they had support systems and when they got to just be themselves, right? Those people who had that, they're 1,000% different than a person
Totally.
with
Yeah.
late
Yeah.
diagnosed ADHD who did not have that opportunity or did not have that support system or that structure. It is night and day difference.
Once you learn to, and I'm still learning because I don't think that it's an overnight thing, but once you
No.
start to learn about your brain and how it works and you start working with it versus against it, that is the huge difference. Some people, based on like just their circumstances, whether it was their parents or their talents or whatever, they kind of figured out, whether they knew they had ADHD or not, how to work with it. For so many of us, especially women, we just spent so long working against it, trying so hard to mask, and it just
Very few women get to be unabashedly themselves.
very true. Yeah.
These are women, when you see them, you're very envious of them.
Very
They may
true.
not have it all together. You might think that they do, and they may not. But
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
all know the type of women we're talking about. The women that don't give a shit what they say. But they've always been that way. They're still loving and caring. They don't dismiss people, but they are their own person, and they are unapologetic about it. And that's kind of the woman that I'm still striving to be after my ADHD diagnosis. And those are some of the best parts. Those moments when I realize, oh, I don't have to do this shit. This doesn't work for me and I don't have to do it.
Yeah.
Those moments are so freeing. Like, and they pop up out of nowhere because again, it doesn't all happen at once, right? You start to see little things, start to notice,
Yeah.
but it's so freeing. And I think maybe that's what everybody wants. Screw the hippopotamus for Christmas. Let's all get our ADHD diagnosis and understand that we're all more alike than what we realize.
Exactly.
That would make the new year pretty awesome.
If New Year's has always felt hard, and you've listened to this and thought, yes, this is me. Remember, you get to do New Year's your way. Find out what works for you and do it. If you want to be up at midnight cleaning your bathroom, or you want to be out on a dance floor or having dinner with somebody special, don't get into all the tropes of what your New Year's is supposed to look like, and who you're supposed to be in the new year.
No matter which decision you make, you're not a buzzkill and you're not broken.
Your brain just works different.
If you spend New Year's Eve reorganizing a closet at 11 p.m. because you suddenly got hyper-focused,
Totally valid.
thanks for joining us. If this episode hit home or hit a nerve, share it with another ADHD woman who might need to hear she's not alone.
Until next time, be kind to yourself. And remember, you're not the only one feeling angry on the inside. Happy New Year's, everyone.
Happy New Year's.